Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday and Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I needed to go through the disclosures. General disclosure, all Bookmap Ltd materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure, trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. You can post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X. My name there is @Pless. Here are the key tenets to my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures. That certainly applies to the large cap tech stocks like the Magnificent Seven stocks, and we'll take a look at quite a few of those in just a few minutes, and also the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100, and we'll look at those as well. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index. SPY is the ETF version of that index, and the ES futures contract is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index. QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index, and the NQ futures contract is a derivative of NDX. And just like the S&P 500, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups. And when I talk about setups, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. Setups in that asset can be taken with futures contracts, shares of stock, or options, depending on the asset as well as the way you like to trade. Questions and comments are welcome. And I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. And hello, Oguz. Welcome. Glad you're here. Here's my agenda for today, Monday, November 10th. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, events, and earnings. Note, economic data is up in the air still. Most likely will not be provided. We'll take a look. And then next step, positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. Then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know. I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's get started with news items. And let's start with economic data and events. So I'm sure everyone is aware that the U.S. government is still shut down, and it looks like the Senate made substantial progress over the weekend, coming up with an agreement, and now I believe it is headed to the House for a vote. And then it would also need to be signed by President Trump. So there's still some steps involved, but it looks like the government will most likely reopen soon. So normal schedule, there were some data that's scheduled for release this week. CPI data on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then on Friday, retail sales and PPI also at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I don't know if that data will be available or not. So just we'll keep watch on our any news source to determine whether or not that data will be available. All right, there are some stocks reporting earnings this week. This is the earnings chart in the Spotgamma dashboard home screen, and it looks like mostly all but one NVIDIA of the Mag 7 stocks have reported earnings. And then there are some other companies reporting earnings, some of the more speculative stocks. Rigetti, Rocket Lab, ASTS, Inbis, Nibius, Oklo, Circle, and then at the end of the week, this quantum computing stock, as well as Cisco and Applied Materials. So there could be some earnings plays coming out for these stocks that move quite a bit, highly speculative stocks. All right, so let's move on to positional analysis now. And I'm going to start with the S&P 500. This is the ES Futures and Bookmap. And as I said, positive news over the weekend. This is showing the start of the trading yesterday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. There was a gap up, general trend up, move up, consolidation, move up, consolidation, move up at the cash open today, and then a sharp reversal lower, and now an even more impressive reversal higher. And we'll take a look at the gamma environment in just a minute, the negative gamma that helps to enable that kind of movement. All right, so that is the ES Futures and Bookmap. And not a lot of spot gamma levels in play up until ES SPX SPY has reached the 680. That's the SPY 680 call wall. And then other than that, it's just been SPY round number levels acting as resistance and then support. And note that S&P 500 has broken up above the SPX 6800 level, and that is Spotgamma's new line in the sand, the bull bear or bear bull line in the sand. All right, so let's step back. Let's take a look at our higher time frame. Let's go to the underlying index, SPX. I'm going to start with a 1 year, 1 day chart, SPX. Focus on more recent price action. This is the October 10th tariff tantrum, recovery, and then there was a breakout on 10/24 with the benign CPI data that came out again on 10/24. Note the government did fund that data, and then SPX made it up to around 69.20, then reversed lower. So let's take a look at a 30-day 1 hour chart now so we can focus more on the more recent price action. Go to our 30-day 1 hour chart. So here is the October 10th tariff tantrum, recovery, breakout, and this was on Friday 10/24. And note the key level here. This resistance support zone, right around 65.70 or 67.50 to 67.60. So that level acted as resistance up until 10/24, and SPX broke up above that level. Then last Thursday traded down below that level, found resistance to that level, and then today gapped back up above. So that's been a key level, and now SPX back up above that level. All right, let's take a look at the other levels on this chart. I'm going to start with the expected moves. These are shown by the dashed purple lines. This is the lower and upper weekly expected move. This is based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. Those levels remain in place for the entire week. And then the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move, also based on the options market. That's based again on the closing price for SPX from Friday. And I do post the expected moves every day for SPX, ES, and NQ in the Options-Doug chat channel and Discord. And I do post those the day before, the evening before. All right, so SPX is trading well above its upper daily expected move, up near highs of the day. All right, let's take a look at the spot gamma levels on this chart. These are shown with the dark red lines. They're based on gamma-weighted open interest. They're provided to Spotgamma subscribers on a variety of trading platforms. Again, this is Thinkorswim. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. First of all, the absolute gamma strike is down at 6,000 now. So it has pinged back and forth between 6,000 and 7,000, and it is now down at 6,000. That's the strike with largest absolute positive and negative gamma, and of course well out of play. Next level up is the put wall at 6,500. That's a strike with largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. That level did move down from Friday, and of course again well out of play. Next level up is the volatility trigger at 6730. And that is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility and gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility. And above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. And that level also moved lower from Friday. And then finally, the call wall remains at 7,000. That's a strike with large net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. So if price continues to move higher, it will have to go through several hurdles, but maybe toward the end of the year, that is a potential target at 7,000. All right, so those are levels in play. And again, as a bearish brace for SPX, volatility trigger put wall, both move lower compared with Friday, and that's the same for SPY and NDX. All right, let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1 minute chart. And we'll go to, again, a 1 minute, 1 minute chart. So here's the reversal higher that began Friday right around noon, down to 66.30. And so far, SPX has recovered about 190 points. All right, so here's the gap up today, up above the upper daily expected move. SPX did trade down below that level. Let me zoom in on this just a little bit. And now making highs of the day past this 6,800 level that I mentioned was the line in the sand pivot for bull bear pivot for Spotgamma. And then there's a combo level just above that. All right, let's take a quick look at SPY, then we'll get to Bookmap. So the other underlying index, let's go to SPY. So SPY, the dark shaded portions are the regular trading hours, and the lighter gray shading overnight hours. So you can see the low on Friday midday, just afternoon, and then now a rally. Steep pullback today down, so resistance at 679. Let me zoom in on that. So today resistance earlier at 679, set up a nice short. Pull back almost to 675. Those are just round number levels. And then a move, pretty sharp move higher from 675 up to the 680 call wall. And now SPY is trading up above that level. All right, back to Bookmap now. All right, so then here are the SPY levels that I mentioned before. 679 resistance, 675 support, and now 680 call wall. And S&P 500 trading up above that. Note ES is also trading up above its upper daily expected move. And then here's the SPX. SPX 6800, that level, large gamma 3 level, that was noted as resistance. And the Spotgamma AM Founders note, and SPX is trading well above that level now. And note there's a difference in price between ES and SPX, and today that offset is about 24 points. So ES minus SPX is 24. It was closer to 23 earlier today, but now it is now it's 24. That's what I'm using. So I'm showing SPX 6800 at ES 6824. And we'll talk about setups in just a couple minutes. All right, so that's ES. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. Let me check for questions. Agoo's asked, how can I decide if I need Hero or not? Well, I'm going to have to leave that up to you. I will show plenty of examples with both the indexes and with some stocks showing how Hero provided key trading signals. And hello, Rospem, welcome, glad you're here. All right, here's NASDAQ, similar chart. And let's take a look at the underlying index charts. And that would be first QQQ. So here's the Friday reversal. Looks like down just a little bit below 598, and that is a combo 4 level today. Also below the 600 level. And now QQQ trading well above that at 622. So let's zoom in on that. So earlier today, just like SPY, QQQ round number levels are in play. 622 acting as resistance, and then the 617 zero gamma level acting as support, and now QQQ back up at highs of the day. All right, we'll take a quick look at NDX, the other underlying index component, and note there are no NDX levels in play. So 25,000, that's a large gamma 3 level. That is the highest. That is the highest NDX level. So NDX is trading up above all Spotgamma levels. All right, so back to Bookmap. So again, we're looking at QQQ levels. Resistance this morning at 622. Support at 617 zero gamma level. And NASDAQ up at highs of the day. All right, so that's NASDAQ. And again, we'll take a look at setups in just a couple of minutes. And just to wrap up NASDAQ, again, shifts and levels, just like the S&P 500, NDX, volatility trigger, put wall shifted lower. And for QQQ, the volatility trigger shifted lower. All right, let's wrap up our positional analysis by taking a look at Gamma. So we'll go to the Trace Gamma heat map. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. And again, this is Gamma. So remember, positive Gamma, we're looking for slower movement, market makers trading against price. And in negative Gamma, we're looking for faster movement, more fluid price movement, more volatility. So the red shading is showing negative Gamma, and the blue shading is showing positive Gamma. Let's step back in time. So earlier today, with those sharp moves up and down, SPX was trading in firmly negative Gamma. So let's go back just a few minutes after the cash open. Step forward in time. You'll see the negative Gamma building, some blue positive Gamma up above. This is market maker's position, the GEX bars. So this is showing basically a call spread. So traders are short this call spread, 68.25, 68.30. Market makers along the call spread. And we'll see as SPX drops sharply, that Gamma at 68.25, especially that positive Gamma, disappears as SPX moves down firmly in the negative Gamma, the bright red shading, and then starts to reverse higher. This purple line right here is the hero signal. We'll take a look at that in just a couple of minutes, and we'll see that as driven by almost 100% zero DTE traders. All right, now the negative Gamma is somewhat diminishing and positive Gamma building up above. Again, at this 68.25 level. All right, that's the current view of Gamma. So it looks like now SPX is in a zone of slightly neutral Gamma. Let's zoom in on this just a little bit. So we see negative Gamma below and blue positive Gamma up above. All right, so that's the current picture of Gamma. So we're looking for faster movement as if SPX starts to move lower again, and then slower movement if SPX continues to move higher. And we'll see if it moves higher past this 68.25 level. All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at some setups from from earlier today. And I'm going to start with the S&P 500. And as always, I'm going to start by taking a look at what options traders are doing today. So this is the hero signal, hedging impact real-time options. What this is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for the S&P 500 index components. We've already talked about a couple of those, SPX and SPY. The other index components included in this signal are the ES futures, and XSP. So the white line is price for SPX, and the purple line is the hero signal. Again, hedging impact real-time options available to Spotgamma subscribers. The directional line indicates options delta. So a falling hero signal indicates traders are taking negative delta options positions. They are selling calls and or buying puts. And then a rising hero signal indicates traders are buying calls and or selling puts. All right, one other thing I want to point out, let's take a look at so this is all trades, all expirations. It's options that expire today, tomorrow, next week, next month, etc. And then next expiry, that's shown by the teal line, is options that expire at the end of the day today. So you can see the close correlation between the teal line and the purple line, indicating almost all the options trading today is in zero TTE trades. So not a lot of commitment, but the market in this negative gamma environment or from earlier today being heavily driven by zero TTE options trades. All right, let's turn that off. Let's take a look at puts and calls. Whoops, not sure what's going on. I just lost my hero signal. All right, that's not good. Let's try the new version. All right, that's better. All right, so in this case, with this new version, the orange line shows calls, the blue line shows puts, and the candlesticks are price for SPX. So key here is this is from the cash open. Traders are selling calls. And Lasauter, welcome, glad you're here. Ask when we get to stocks, can we look at Deckers? Yeah, I'm not sure it's available on Hero. I don't have it in a Bookmap, but yeah, we can take a look at it. All right, so key here, traders selling calls from the open. And then right around 10:30, they start buying puts. And that's when the S&P 500 rolls lower. So let's go take a look at Bookmap. And then right around 11:30, somewhere between 11:30 and 11:45, the call buyers come in. Put buyers had already taken the foot off the gas. They start selling puts, buying calls, and price moves higher. And note the key flow alert right here at 10:30, signaling a potential change in the hedging flow. And that's exactly what happened. Key flow alert, traders continue to sell calls, buy puts, and the S&P 500 rolls lower. So we've taken a look at a short setup and long setup. Again, driven almost quite a bit by zero TTE options trades. So let's go take a look at Bookmap, back to ES. So we'll take a look at the clues in Bookmap. Let's go back to about 9, or actually, 9 to 1. Or you can see from the cash open, all the aggressive buyers coming in. This is shown by the green volume dots in Bookmap. Volume dots, I'm using the delta version of volume dots, so indicate market buy minus sell. Green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. Magenta dots indicate more sellers than buyers. Note the multiple test of the 679 level. And then finally, the sellers overwhelm and price moves lower as traders start buying puts and continue to sell calls. And at that time, cumulative volume delta starts to drop lower. That's shown by the dark blue line. And then sell stop orders, shown by the falling yellow line, help to fuel that move lower, eventually to 675. So that's about a 40-point move lower in ES. All right, let's go back to Hero. So there's another signal that we can take a look at for the S&P 500, and that is the S&P 500 equity signal. So this is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity. for all 500 stocks in the S&P 500 index. And I thought the S&P 500 index signal was a lot more clear today, but there is something to be gained from this. This is a typical pattern where the index signal shows the turning points a lot more clearly. This kind of shows the overall trend, but this typical pattern, traders aggressively buying calls in the S&P 500 stocks, and then they really take the foot off the gas about 10:30, and that's when the index starts to reverse lower. They were selling a few puts as well. They stopped that, so the put sellers, call buyers, take the foot off the gas, and price reverses lower. Then they start buying calls again, but somewhere between 11:45 and noon, and price moves higher. But again, I thought the S&P 500 index signal was a lot more clear today. So a short setup, very nice short setup, and then a reversal higher. And we'll take a look at the current price action in just a couple minutes. All right, so that's the S&P 500. And let's move on now. Let's take a look at NASDAQ, then we'll get to some stocks. So it looks like the S&P 500 moving up toward that positive gamma and is slowed down around the 680 call wall. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. Again, similar chart. Breakdown about 10:30 or so. Down to the down to the 617 zero gamma level, then a reversal higher. Note the trend break here. Let's take a look at the subchart. One key for this move this morning was large traders fading this move with iceberg orders. That's shown by the falling light blue line. The move higher was fueled by buy stop orders, also aggressive buyers, but large traders were fading that move with iceberg orders. So let's see what options traders are doing. So we'll go to the NASDAQ index signal. So this is showing options trades of market maker hedging activity for the NASDAQ index components. We've already taken a look at those. That's NDX and QQQ. So what this is showing is traders selling calls. Looks like some larger orders here. And NASDAQ rolls over as traders sell calls, buy puts. Price moves lower. Call buyers came in right around 11 a.m. and then price eventually moved higher. All right, so price in this case is NDX. All right, let's take a look at the other signal available for NASDAQ. That's the MAG 7. And the S&P equities is essentially the MAG 7 plus 493. So this is similar. Call buyers from the open, and we'll see this a lot of the MAG 7 stocks. We'll take a look at it in just a couple of minutes. And then they take the foot off the gas. Slow down. NASDAQ reverses and then moves higher. So also moving with in sync with the S&P 500 basically. All right, so that's NASDAQ. All right, let's take a look at some stocks, and we'll see a pretty common pattern here. I'm going to start with Apple. So what this chart is showing is a bullish opening drive. Let me need to zoom just a little bit. All right, so this is a bullish opening drive. Actually, let's close this. Full alert comes in just at the cash open. Traders aggressively buying calls. Price moves above the 270 key gamma strike call wall. And then this is a very reliable bearish reversal signal that we'll see multiple times today. That's a call peak pattern. The aggressive call buyers take the foot off the gas and price immediately drops. So when traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls, they have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. And as soon as traders stop buying calls, they can start selling their hedges. So traders stop buying calls, start selling calls, and Microsoft reverses, Apple reverses lower. All right, so that's Apple. Let's take a look at Bookmap. Go to Apple. All right, bullish opening drive. Limit sell orders at 273. Looks like those were consumed. More came in, 273.50. And those remain in the order book. That's shown by the heat map and Bookmap. There's that sharp reversal. Down below the opening print. And now Apple's back up to that 270 call wall key gamma strike. And chop it around that level. All right, that's Apple. Back to Hero. Next stock I want to take a look at is Microsoft. Oops. All right, Microsoft, a couple of round up and down today. So a bullish opening drive. Looks like the call buyers came in a few minutes after the stock price started to move higher. Support, key support at the 500 key gamma strike. Another call peak pattern. Call buyers take the foot off the gas. Microsoft reverses. Back down to the 500 key gamma strike, finding support at that level. And then the call buyers have come back in. And now Microsoft back up toward the highs of the day. So familiar pattern today. Bullish opening drive, call peak reversal, and then a midday recovery. And that's exactly what we've seen in the indexes. So let's take a look at Bookmap. We'll go to Microsoft. Remember 500 key gamma strike. Bullish opening drive. Pull back. Long entry right around 10 a.m. Then a sharp call peak reversal just above 506, setting up a nice short, back down to 500 key gamma strike, then a long again, back up toward highs of the day. Now it looks like cumulative volume delta starting to roll over a little bit as more sellers start to come in. So for absorption at the 506 level. All right, back to Hero. All right, so you can see another potential call peak here, although the call buyers have come back in. All right, Ford's Garage is asking about Meta. Yeah, we'll take a quick look at Meta. I do have that in Bookmap as well. So in the case of Meta, it was a bearish opening drive. Traders selling calls. That's the falling orange line. Straight down. Full alert. Quick reversal. So you could almost call that, after that, a bullish opening drive. Back up, quick back up, move back up to the highs of the day. 635. Then the reversal again, then a move back up to the 635 hedge wall. So that's the key resistance level today, the 635 hedge wall. So there's Meta. Let's go take a look in Bookmap. And Meta has been beaten down quite a bit, and maybe some traders coming in looking for buying the dip finally in Meta. Sharp drop at the open. Call buyers come in, take the foot off the gas at that 635 hedge wall level that you expect to act as resistance, and it certainly did there. Note the limit sell orders in the order book still remain in there. That's shown by the heat map of Bookmap. History of the limit orders in the order book. You can see those orders still in the order book. That's 12,131, and that is limit sell orders. All right, that's Meta. All right, next stock, NVIDIA. NVIDIA looks like chop for about the first half hour. Call buyers came in, and we'll see. In the case of NVIDIA, it was more call buyers taking their foot off the gas. And Rospam Cap, Dimitar, I believe. Yes, you can ask questions. All right, so chop, 30 minutes of chop. This is pretty typical for NVIDIA. And the call buyers, pretty stealthy, start to become more aggressive right around 10 a.m. NVIDIA moves higher, and this is more just call exhaustion, not necessarily sort of a call peak, sort of a call exhaustion, somewhere in between. And then the call buyers come back in, and now NVIDIA back up at highs of the day. All right, there's Bookmap. And now NVIDIA making its way up to this liquidity at 198. And that's around 148,000 shares to sell. Limit sell orders. All right, next stock, Tesla. All right, Tesla. Bearish move at the open, chop, and then resolves higher up toward the 450 level. So let's take a look at Hero. Tesla found support at the 435 hedge wall. And again, chop for about the first half hour. And then the call buyers start to become aggressive. Price moves higher. Traders buy calls. Market makers sell the calls. They have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. Call buyers take the foot off the gas, and Tesla consolidates. And Dimitar asks, what's the red line down there? That's the hedge wall, 435, if that's what you're asking about. So the horizontal lines are the Spotgamma key daily levels. All right, that's Tesla. Back to Bookmap. So overall, bullish day in Tesla. And key target up above is still the 450 level. All right, next stock, AMD. Similar pattern, very bullish opening drive that lasted for about an hour. So plenty of opportunities to get long. Let's zoom in on this just a little bit. So plenty of opportunities to get long, multiple pullbacks. Kind of a choppy uptrend. Let's see what options traders are doing. And this is driven by call buyers and put sellers. Full alert signals significant options activity. Get your attention. Traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy stock to ensure delta exposure. So the put sellers took the foot off the gas first, and then the call buyers slow down and finally take the foot off the gas, and AMD moves lower. That fuel that had driven price higher has slowed down. So that's AMD. And Dimitar asked, how do we know what's the volume? Volume of what? You want the volume of options traded or stock traded? Now, as far as this chart goes, I think volume for stock is available. Well, you can get... So the important thing is not necessarily the volume of options, but it is the delta notional. And that's shown with the lines, the hero lines, as well as the scale right here. But if you want to see, options volume, there are a couple of ways. Let's go to... Let's go to tape. So one thing you can look at right here, this is the top options volume. And this is pretty normal. With SPY, QQQ, SPX on top. Then the usual suspects, NVIDIA, Tesla, Palantir. Palantir's having a great day. It was earlier. Then if you want more details about a stock you're trading, one easy way to do that is just go to your trading platform. And you can take a look at options volume in there. All right, so that's AMD. Back to Hero. All right, next stock, Palantir. Very bullish day in Palantir. Traders buying calls. Flow alert comes in just after the open, signals significant options activity, get your attention. And this is really a case of call exhaustion. So the put sellers and the call buyers take the foot off the gas right around the same time. Palantir consolidates and then starts to move higher just before noon with everything else. So let's go to Palantir. Nice move higher. A lot of aggressive buyers shown by all the green volume dots. Rising cumulative volume delta that continues to move higher. So it's a lot of aggressive buyers buying Palantir today, as well as call buyers. And remember, Palantir was hit pretty hard after reporting earnings concerns about valuation. Well, it's moved down enough for the dip buyers to come in. All right, Oguz asked, I think I didn't understand how to use Hero Signal because it seems it is falling the price. So first of all, there's no dumb question. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at an example. Let's go back to Hero, and I'm going to go to the S&P 500 index. And this, to me, is a clear leading signal. So this is the S&P 500. Note traders selling calls in the S&P 500 index components from the open. And as they start buying puts, immediately price drops lower. So to me, that's a very clear clue. And this trader selling calls, that's a leading indicator. So in this case, it looks like Hero was moving before price moved lower. So let's turn on total. So you can see the total signal as well was moving lower before price moved lower. All right, then Prakash, hello, welcome, glad you're here. Asks, is the Tesla book map I saw multiple price levels, is that an indicator? All right, so let's go take a look at Bookmap. We'll go back to Tesla. All right, what I'm using is an add-on. If you're asking about these price levels, I like to see the price levels. So I use an add-on. It's available in the Bookmap marketplace, and it is price lines, not price levels. It's price lines. This is an add-on that you can purchase in the Bookmap marketplace. Let's take a look at that. And you can show anything you want here. And I use this just to show the price levels. And I have this set up in a CSV file here. So again, you can show whatever you want. It shows the levels and draws the lines, whatever style you want. And then for the indexes, ES and NQ, I have a little bit more information in here. So I'm showing that. I'm using the price lines add-on to show key ES levels. There's the 6,800 level, ES, upper daily expected move, SPX levels, and then also SPY levels. So I can show all that with the price lines add-on. And again, I have a separate spreadsheet. All right, and Lasauter wanted to take a look at Decker. So again, I don't have that on Bookmap, but we can check Hero. Don't know if it's going to be available or not. Decker's. Doesn't look like it. No, sorry, it's not there. All right, does anyone else have any stocks they want me to take a look at? All right, let's run through some of the stocks that we've taken a look at again. Let's see how Apple is doing. Still consolidating. Back down below the 270 key gamma strike. And Microsoft. Looks like it is stalling as the call buyers have taken their foot off the gas. Back up toward highs of the day. NVIDIA. Call buyers have also taken the foot off the gas. Just above highs of the day. Tesla. Also stalling, consolidating. AMD. Then Palantir. And Love Weed, welcome, glad you're here. Ask, can I check out Dow? I don't know if, do you mean the Dow Jones Industrial Average or the Dow, I guess, chemical stock? We'll assume you mean the Dow Jones. Not something that I ever look at. We can take a look at the diamonds. So based, just compare it with other stocks, other indexes that we've taken a look at, the delta notional is pretty insignificant. It looks like there were some call sellers earlier today. So net for the day, traders are selling calls and selling puts in the diamonds. Let's take a look at Trace. All right, so this 68.25 looks like SPX is right at that level. That was definitely a target for this move higher. So it looks like SPX has reached that target. Let's check. We'll go to the SPX chart just to confirm that. Actually, let me take a look at let's go to the 1 minute chart. So SPX trading right at 68.25. That large GEX bar, positive gamma. Looks like it's trying to move higher. And options traders want to take it higher, shown by the rising hero signal there. Let's take a look at Charm. What this is showing is buying support, selling pressure due to time decay. So the most obvious pin target based on the GEX bars is 68.25. But Charm right now is showing a potential up here. And that's right around 68.50. So that would be that would definitely be a stretch today to get up to 68.50. But SPX has broken up above the 68.25 level now. So those traders, the call sellers, are experiencing some pain. Let's go back to Bookmap. So now ES is broken up firmly above the SPY 680 call wall. Large traders are fading the move, shown with iceberg orders. And also aggressive sellers, shown by the falling cumulative volume delta, the dark blue line. Iceberg shown with the light blue line. Oguz wants to check GLD or GDX. Yeah, we can do that in Hero. I don't have that in a Bookmap, so let's go to Hero, check GLD. Go back. Gamma, Hero, GLD. All right, so traders are buying calls in GLD. They're also selling puts. And note, compared to the diamonds, this is pretty decent notional value. 110 million selling puts and 404 million buying calls, delta notional. So gold moving higher as well. All right, back to the S&P 500. So it looks like the call buyers have come back in now. Check the S&P 500 equities. And traders continue to buy calls. took the foot off the gas right around 10:30, but never really stopped. As the S&P 500 moves to new highs for the day. Right back to Bookmap. Let's check NASDAQ, then we'll call it a day. NASDAQ also making new highs, aggressive buyers coming in, so shown by the large green volume dots. All right, last call for questions, stocks. All right, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for your questions. It really helps when you ask questions and get involved, and I'll be glad to answer your questions. Again, thank you very much for watching. We'll keep an eye on the government shutdown and have an update on that on Wednesday. All right, again, everyone, thank you for watching. Have a great afternoon, and I will see you on Wednesday. Bye.